Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Hello and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. I am Jer Stay, sharing what to know and where to go around Southeast Michigan. Joining me as he does pretty much every week, unless for some reason the dogs have pinned him down in their domicile that he is watching. None other than Mr. Fletcher Sharp. How are you?
I'm fine. It's beginning to feel a bit more like spring. Obviously, it's a little bit chilly some of these days, more so than we'd like. But, stepping outside in 45 degrees in shorts, people aren't looking at you like a weirdo. So I'm thankful for that.
You know, I'm a little tired. I'm still a little tired because I had one of the longest walks to an event I've been on in a while, but I did have a lot of fun. Over the weekend, I went and saw Kev on stage at Greater Grace at like 7 Mile and Berg, which is out there, especially for an East Sider like me. I mean, and even getting out there, like if you're coming from downtown, I ended up going up the Lodge and down 7 Mile. Let me tell you, it was a full house. People were parked everywhere. These were the most comfortable pews I have ever sat on in my life. Not just butt padding, but back padding. And the house was raucous because Kev on stage is hilarious. And I really liked how he formatted the show.
Yeah, he's a pretty versatile comedian. I mean, I know a lot of his jokes tend to, fly over some people's heads. I have not really seen a set of his that I've looked at and been like, I don't really see how that's funny. So yeah, I'm glad that he's able to come through. I'm a little surprised. I heard he was here. He didn't have comedian CP, Chris Powell, who's like a local legend. If you've ever watched Detroiters, he was the security guard Ned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's a really funny guy, and he's got a pretty big presence on Instagram as well for jokes. So hearing he wasn't there, I'm a little surprised, but I do know they work together.
So something I liked about this that I wish more comedy shows would do with their headliner was Kevin came out first, and then there was another guy, and then Kevin came out again, and then another guy. So I think there was like 3 different like second acts, but it was really interesting and really funny because they played off of each other instead of sitting waiting for like the main event for like 20 or 30 minutes. Like as like warm up. I like that it was interspersed in between. It kept the energy up. It kept the pace changing. And the thing about the show, and I'm going to say this because I think it's a real rare skill. It is hard to make any sort of content that speaks to one group, but also is very understandable to people who are new. And this is the Back of the Pews tour. So you're going to get more of the jokes if you've been in church before. I have a number of times. So some of the jokes, I mean, I grew up around it, not in it. So many of the jokes landed, but even for people who didn't grow up in that, it was still really funny. And that is a real technique to be able to have content that is both in group, but also welcoming. If you're kind of new here, it still was funny.
Yeah, to me, that's the mark of a good comedian. And also the way you describe the show is a mark of a good comedian for me as well. If you can have content that's pretty particular to one subset of people, but it can still be appealing to other people as well, where they can still laugh and it's not just, this is only for mechanics and no one else but mechanics. And if you're not a mechanic, you're not going to laugh. But you can tell a joke that's for mechanics, and like everyone who's adjacent to mechanics or knows nothing about being a mechanic can laugh. That's something else. And when you do it in a way where they're not sitting there waiting for an extra 45 minutes for the opening act, like he comes out, has a few jokes, leads into someone else who plays off him, who then plays off him, it means you're pretty smart. And I know I don't want to break it down to like an IQ level of it, but it's kind of in a way like freestyle rap and freestyle music, where like you have to come up off the top of your head with something, and if you can do that, it means your brain, the synapses are firing at a level maybe a bit quicker than somebody else's to do that and make it sound organic. So yeah, Kev's really good at that.
Can we brag for a minute, Fletcher Sharp?
Sure.
I found out something from a listener. They sent me a thing, because I don't always watch this kind of stuff. I learned that we are the number one local daily news show in America. In America. All these bigger regions, all this other stuff. We are number one, and we are number 41 in Apple Podcasts for daily news overall. Like, against people who have huge budgets and staffs. And, it was an overnight success and only took more than 1,600 episodes, Fletcher.
Yeah, the 41st overall of all like daily news is I don't know if people know this. There's a lot of podcasts.
I wonder if Kindle Vildor listens still.
I mean, I hope not. But if he did, thank you. And I hope that it's sunny in Tampa. And I hope that you have a long career away from the state of Michigan.
What's the thing that you feel like you've learned the most in the last, time doing this? Because you've been around a minute. I mean, we've recorded podcasts in some funny places. We've recorded stuff in stadiums. We've recorded stuff in garages. We've recorded things in cars. I remember episodes we have done, literally, you were in the driver's seat. I was in the passenger seat. We wanted to get the stuff out there. What an adventure. What a journey. What's something you've learned?
Two things. And one of them is very personal for me. So I'm going to try to get through that without getting all choked up. It's fighting the imposter syndrome. Obviously, when you're good at something and you do something well, it kind of feels a bit natural to you. For me, it's writing. There are many times I've written things and given it to people and they're like, oh my God, this is great. No editing involved at all. And I'm like, are you sure? Because like I have editors and such who help me and they're like, this is fine. How did you do this in such amount of time or whatever? And it's just like, this felt normal to me. So to be a part of something that, I mean, obviously it's work and there are times where it feels like work, but there are times where like it doesn't. It's like, this is just us doing stuff. And then for it to go out and people are like, oh my God, this is how I get my news. This is how I get whatever. It's like, wow, we did put in work and this is something we do want to be acknowledged for sure. But like this meant something to people. This meant people wanted to come back and people, I mean, I think back to the time I was at the DIA and someone walked up to me and was like, kind of walked me down and said my name and I thought I was in trouble. And he's like, oh, I listened to the show. You were right about the Lions. And I was like, oh, wow. Nutty. Like, that's cool. Like, that's cool. Like, this is actually obviously something that we want to do. Like, it's not something that we're just, for the most, like, we want to be here doing it. And for it to matter to people that much, to where it's listened to that much, it's kind of surprising.
It still makes me process it. I think about all the time we did, during the pandemic and being in 4 padded walls in an extremely small room, just talking you in a microphone, and then things start to roll and happen. And, there's so much more work to do. We really, we need to build out, some more financial support. We really need to build out things on our Patreon because there's so much more to be done out there. There's so much more to, like, we've found people who are really interested in what we're doing, and we just need to find the ways to make it as sustainable as possible, But like, it was real surprising to me to see it because sometimes you feel like you're doing this and there is this idea that like nobody cares. Like when you make it, you get into these thoughts where it's like, oh, did anyone actually care about what I did today? And then to see this when a listener texted me this, I was flabbergasted. I was floored.
And this leads into my second point, which also deals a bit with imposter syndrome. It's kind of helped me through the show and it's helped me realize that, this is not just some like we're a ragtag. Like we obviously, yes, comparative to like someone like say that the St. Brown show or something else where yes, very different in terms of like who's and what. But like the show is a force. Like there's heft behind the name. So we have reached a point where we can choose where we, what stuff we want to do and stuff we need to cover and get to. And realizing that is like, oh, it's not just a thing that people will listen and people will hear and it'll resonate with them. So, just we are Daily Detroit and we can now put our feet down and say we are here.
Yeah. And I don't mean that as disrespect to anybody else.
Oh, not at all.
A lot of media colleagues, we'll have some of them on the show at times. And I love that collaboration aspect of podcasting. that feels so much more special. You know, the style and the format that a podcast lets you do gives us a freedom, but also we have to be smart about it where we can't overdo it. I think for us, it's like, okay, we do this daily show. It's like between 20 and 30 minutes. People may not realize like it's actually harder to make a shorter, tighter show than it does to just like let the thing run. But we've definitely found that people appreciate when we focus the beam a little bit and give them something that fits in their drive home every day.
To the point about focusing, like there are some really great shows where like you put it on for 2.5 hours and they might have like 7 or 8 points they might hit. And they also have like 15 that you're just like this. I don't care about this. But the great thing about this show, whenever I tell people and they're like, I need a podcast for this. And I'm like, here's a show. And I try to omit the fact that I'm on it. So they just get surprised because obviously you pump yourself up. But it's like the fact is we focus down the topics that people care about.
One thing that's been reinforced to me is the importance of culture. Now, yes, we always work really hard to get our facts right. I think, you know, a lot of podcasts can play fast and loose with it. We really try to do the extra effort to fact check, to make sure that we get our stuff lined up. But the culture part, the community part, the fact that we're kind of all together sharing at the table, that I think is a big part of the secret sauce that takes it beyond being like a news brief or something.
So many times I've hit up Jer, or Jer's hit me up, or someone's hit up Jer. We've been like, this is a story for this. We're going to run this. And it's like, let's wait. And then 10 minutes passes and the story's changed entirely. So like we have to make sure stuff is correct. And like the whole unit, everyone at Daily Detroit feels, I can't say feels the exact same way because everyone's a different person, but feels similarly enough to where we all move the same way just about. Where it's like we know we might disagree on this or disagree on this. We might agree on this. But ultimately, we all move in the same direction.
For sure. And I want to thank the sponsors that we do have. You know, they're all people tied to local stuff, often people who listen to the show. You're absolutely amazing. I also want to thank our members on Patreon because they're great. And we've got that community Discord now, which is wild, where we actually get story ideas from the community and we're discussing things back and forth and we're having fun and sharing wacky pictures. And it's just really taken things to a whole new level and really understanding that I think the future of media is not, I think so many people try to sell content, and I think it's really about making sure the resources are there to fuel community, as opposed to thinking that it's just about, well, this story or this page view or whatever. It's really about, how can we make sure that the community, all of us together, are sustainable and growing together. And that's been a beautiful thing.
Oh, for sure. And it's one of the best parts about it is being within a community, and not just a community, but a community that actually is like propelling you forward. And obviously, if you're in the Discord or if you are a Patreon member, like you're someone who wants the show to do as well as it can. But to have those people actively like engage and not just give you something and then turn off comments where it's like, yeah, this is cool, and then just nothing to help. It shows like, you know, kind of, what is it, kintsugi, the pottery where like if it cracks, they fill it in with gold and it kind of makes it into a whole new pottery thing altogether. That's kind of how I compare it to. If there is something we might have missed, there's someone there as like a fail safe to be like, oh, what about this? And it just makes the show better as a result.
Why don't we end on some very good news, my friend?
I know we touched on it the last time I was on, with the Pistons tripling their win total from last year, the first team in NBA history to do that, which shows how bad Monty Williams was. As I've been told many times by people who listen to the show, they're like, you defend him. And I'm like, I'm not defending him, just, you know. But another big thing that happened, after being terrible last year, the Detroit Pistons, who play downtown, will be in the NBA playoffs, and not even in a playoff position. They've clinched a top 6 seed in NBA's Eastern Conference, which is amazing. I mean, they made some additions from last year. They obviously brought in Tim Hardaway Jr. They brought in Malik, but it's essentially like the same team, and they're missing a key player in Jaden Ivey, who's been out for most of the year with a leg injury. But this team, every year, you can replay the first episode we talked about the Pistons. I'm always like a dark horse play-in team, but generally probably out of the playoffs, but a dark horse play-in team. I've said that for the past 4 years, and every year someone's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And now they can say it because I underestimated them. Normally I overestimate them, but this time I underestimated them. I figured Cade would put it together eventually, and he's had an amazing year. I think due to NBA politics, he probably won't make NBA all first team, but there's no way he's just not an all NBA second team player. There's nope. I will run to Canton myself to go to the NBA Basketball Hall of Fame, and I will scream and I will chain myself to the doors if that does not happen. It's become a really great story, and I know they had a recent issue with the Timberwolves where there was a suspension with a few players and a fight and some ejections. People want to call them the bad boys. They aren't that. Like, let's let that be the 1990-91 team. Like, that's them. And then the going to work Pistons, 03-04, that era, let them be them. These Pistons are new and they're different. And this is the first time they've had like a straight up superstar led team. Like, I know that the bad boys had Isaiah Thomas, who was great. I'm not saying he's not a superstar, but he also had Joe Dumars, who in the NBA was a really good player, borderline superstar. They also had Rick Mahorn, who was a great local legend in that regard. They also had Bill Laimbeer, same. They had a lot of players who were really, really good. The going to work Pistons, Chauncey Billups, NBA superstar. Ben Wallace, Galact. He had white kids wearing fro wigs for like 5 years for Halloween. Like, that's just his impact on the metropolitan area himself. Rasheed Wallace, Hall of Fame caliber player. Richard Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, maybe not Hall of Fame caliber, but close enough. But this is the first time they've had a team where, like, we have one guy, like, the team is still a good team built together, but we have one guy who the whole expectations are resting on his shoulders. And through other issues for the past, whether it's been injuries or his team just being not as good, it's fallen on him in a negative way. This time it's falling on him in a positive way, and he's withstanding the pressure in Cade Cunningham. And I'm glad.
I personally, for a ton of reasons, love that idea of separation. I do not I love old buildings. I love a lot of things about the history of Detroit, but what we should not do is pretend that today was the past. And the power of this fandom, the power of being excited about this is being like, hey, this is ours today. And when we see a great experience, whether it's sports or anything else, I really encourage people to live in the moment. Like, I remember those 2 waves of Pistons. This is not that, and that is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing, and it shows the power of the club and of the players and of the work that they're accomplishing all on their own, because they deserve their own flowers. Well, Fletcher Sharp, I want to say thank you to you. Cheers for all the things that we've done together so far, and here's to many more. I mean, I can't believe we're here, so I'm just going to try to have a little bit of joy with it, you know?
Yeah, it's one of those things as I've gotten older, you realize, like, if something good happens during the day, celebrate it in that moment, because, you know, maybe tomorrow it might not be as good. So, and then you'll be wishing you had that good moment. So if it happens, you know, look forward, but also give a little fist pump, like, oh, heck yeah, man. And then step into the next day.
Well, if you've got feedback, dailydetroit@gmail.com or 313-789-3211. That's 313-789-3211 if you want to leave a voicemail. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Fletcher Sharp.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.